Good morning, Saturday morning. Again, we are here. This is the third session of the negotiations for project managers workshop. Thank you for being here. So you are brave and you are very committed professionals. So today, the topics that we have for you, an interesting one is a scope negotiation. So again, my name is Dr. Tony Prensa. If you haven't connected with me in LinkedIn, this is my QR. I would love to be connected with you and share a lot of topics about project management and project management office, power skills, and you name it. So I'm always willing to learn from you, and I can share some of my experience in this beautiful profession, the project management. So the agenda that I have for you today, so I'm gonna be deep diving in some of the topic, one more than others. But I wanna have an overview, so the importance of project scope negotiation. Let's talk about project scope. So setting the foundation for successful negotiation techniques and tactics, the specific techniques and tactics that we have for today's workshop, overcoming common challenges in scope negotiation, and then the conclusion. So in getting started, so I have an assignment for you. You can see this is a black and white kind of a picture, objects. So what I want for you, and you can bring it for the last workshop, the following Saturday. So I want for you the color these figures. So if you have your kids, let them do it, print it, and they select some nice color for this. So maybe you need to negotiate with your kids. So that's the interesting thing there. So a squirrel and a rabbit negotiating over a pie or a crumbs. So animals also negotiate like us. So overview of the importance of project scope negotiation. So I'm going to start with this kind of definition. Project scope negotiation is a critical aspect of project management that involves defining, refining, and managing the boundaries of a project, including its objectives, deliverables, constraints. So it plays a pivotal role, very important role in ensuring project success by aligning stakeholder expectations, very important, managing resources effectively, and minimizing risks and uncertainties. So why is that important? Because scope impacts all of these items, alignments or stakeholder expectations, resource management and budget control, everything relies on the project scope, risk mitigation and control, quality assurance and deliverable validation, project success and stakeholder satisfaction. Regardless of the approach that you follow, predictive or adaptive, you need to have a scope. Adaptive scope is more flexible, and in predictive or waterfall, the scope is less flexible, but it's a constraint, regardless the kind of or approaches that you follow to manage your project. So let's understand a little bit about project scope. You already know that, but I want to just review it. Project scope refers again to the boundaries and parameters that define the work to be accomplished and the deliverables to be produced within a project. So it encompasses the objectives, requirements, constraints, and boundaries that delineate the extent and boundaries of the project. That's a long definition, but you have the idea. So project scope is, for me, is the most important parameters of the project success. Is that what define what you're trying to accomplish? What values are you adding to your organization? So clear and defined scope is crucial for project success and effective project management for several reasons. Alignments, we already talked about that. So what the alignments of this project, goals, objectives of the project with the organization, with the senior leadership, with your stakeholders. Guidance, the project scope serves as a roadmap for the project. Because if you have this route, because you need to deliver these artifacts or these products and services or result, so the roadmap will be different. So the project scope defines the roadmap for your project. Also, the resources, it depends what you're gonna do. Resources rely on the project scope. What are you gonna do? How many resources do I need? What kind of skill set that I need? Risk management is important. The most complicated is the project scope. More risks are involved in the process of building the outcomes of that particular effort. So change control also is part of the managing and leading a project scope. So there, like in everything else, we always have challenges. So in defining project scope, you will find challenges like unclear objectives. That's the reason that you need to have great communication skills. Great understanding. Business acumen is important to understand also the counterpart, your customer. And that's the exercise that you're going to be doing today, negotiating a scope with a customer. Scope creep. That's what will happen. Specifically, it's more common in IT projects, but happen everywhere. Scope creep. So asking more than that was planned. Stakeholder expectations, that's another challenge. So the stakeholder may expect something from you, and if you don't deliver what they're expecting, so now we have a trouble. So Houston, we had a problem. So limited information. Sometimes we don't have all the information. Even the customers or the stakeholder, they don't know what they want. That's a critical one. So what about external factors? There are some external factors. So as one of the principles of project management documented latest in the PMBOK version 7 is about a great project manager. You need to deal with complexity. And complexity means that you need to have a broader view of the project, not only a narrow view. So this is what we're going to do. You need to be aware of all the potential interfaces, impacts, relationship, dependencies. So external factors is something to consider when defining a scope. So setting the foundation for successful negotiation, that's how we want. We want to set the basis for successful negotiation. Everything requires preparation, nothing by improvisation or by accident. So establishing clear objectives and goals. Have you heard about SMART goals? SMART stand for measurable, specific, achievable, relevant, time-bound. So that's the kind of goals that you need to define before you enter into negotiation. You need to be clear about what we're trying to do. So clear, defined objectives and goals are essential for successful negotiation, as they provide clear direction and purpose for the negotiation process. So if you don't have a clear goal, so you're losing the battle right there. So before entering into negotiation, it's crucial to identify and prioritize the desired outcomes and objectives. Where are we heading to? Where are we going? We are going on vacation. Where? Oh, I don't know. No, you can do that. So when you're negotiating, you need to be clear about the purpose. What are the objectives? What are we trying to accomplish? Establishing clear objectives help focus discussions, guide decision-making, and maintain alignment with broader project goals and objectives. SMART goals. Defining non-negotiables and trade-offs, that's extremely important in any negotiation, regardless of the techniques that we're going to be using today. So identify non-negotiables and trade-offs helps prioritize interests and concessions. What are you giving in exchange of what? So guiding decision-making and compromise. So non-negotiables are essential elements and conditions that cannot be compromised during negotiations, represent core interests or values. Trade-offs involve making concessions on certain issues or interests in exchange for concessions on others, aiming to achieve a mutually acceptable outcome. That's what we want. Mutually acceptable outcome. So that is important. So in preparing for negotiation, you also need to gather information. You can go just with the mind blank. So you need to be prepared. Effective preparation is essential for successful negotiation, requiring thorough information gathering and analysis to understand interests, priorities, and alternatives. You need to know the enemy. No, the enemy. You need to know your friends, the stakeholders, what they want, the expectation. Also, you need to read their mind. Sometimes you need to read their minds. And we're going to talk about another important things in negotiation. You need to know the culture. So when we discuss about the different techniques that we're going to be addressing today, so I'm going to touch bases about that. So prior to negotiation, it's important to gather relevant information about the other party's interests, the preferences, constraints, and objectives, what they want. You need to know that. So conducting a SWOT, that probably you are familiar with SWOT analysis. We can use SWOT analysis in negotiation. So strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. You need to identify all of those for the counterpart. So that will help you to assess the negotiation environment, what you're going to address, what you're going to face, and identify potential areas of leverage or vulnerability. So also preparing negotiation strategies, BATNA, best alternatives to a negotiated agreement, that came from Harvard. So that also is another technique that you can use in gathering information and analyze those information before entering into the negotiation process. And now is the good parts of this discussion. We're going to talk about the techniques and tactics that you're going to be exercising in today's workshop. So let's move forward. So again, I have my beautiful pictures there. So that's the homework for you. Color these pictures and bring it to the last workshop. I want to see it. I'm going to be in person in the last one. So I want to see if you did the assignment. So the techniques that we're going to be discussing today are overcoming pride. You have the grandpa and the young girl there discussing about something. And we had the flinch, and we had the split the difference. 3 different tactics. So let's go into the detail of each one. Overcoming pride. This tactic means setting aside the ego to prioritize mutual beneficial agreements, and that requires what? Humility and openness. Humility and openness. So in the scenarios of project scope negotiation, we can have a situation like this. Despite the initial resistance to client concerns about scope and budget, the project team demonstrates humility by exploring compromises, ultimately reaching an agreement that addresses both parties' interests. That's how we're looking the agreement into both parties. You and the customer, you the project manager and the customer, everybody happy at the end of the negotiation process. Some pros and cons. This technique builds trust, very important in establishing good relationship with your stakeholders. expand options, and promote win-win outcomes. That's what we want. So we mentioned that in the other presentations about win-win outcomes. That's what we want. So there are some cons, like a vulnerability may be seen as a weakness, resource exploitation by assertive negotiators. Sometimes we have stronger negotiators. So the flinch, and this is the one that I want to mention, that we were discussing with the coach, Majana, the other days in preparation of this workshop for today. So flinch, it depends on the culture. So for example, if you are negotiating with North Americans, they have different way of expressing themselves. If you use negotiating in Latin America, so we have different way of negotiating. So we are very expressive and we are very vocal, and sometimes our body language says a lot of things. But also in other culture, let's say in Middle East, people are different. So like Wendy, she was mentioning about in Middle East. So making eye contact it doesn't help, because it seems like a threat. So you are threatening me. So we need to research about the culture, so that it will be part of your preparation in negotiation. So if you're gonna use the flinch, so you need to know about the other culture that you are negotiating with. So again, the flinch, this tactic is employed to create doubt or uncertainty about the fairness or reasonableness of an offer or proposal made by the opposing party. That involves reacting with surprise. So I'm buying a car. All of a sudden, you say, this car is $20,000. What? $20,000? Are you crazy? So that means surprise. They are all dismayed to the offer, either verbally or non-verbally. As I said, Latin Americans, so we are very expressive. And sometimes we say something and our body says something too, in order to unsettle the other party and potentially prompt them to revise the offer or make additional concessions. You are crazy. I don't gonna pay $20,000 for that. Are you crazy, man? So think about it. So elaboration. In the context of projects management, negotiating scope. So let's see this scenario. In scope negotiation, if the client proposes a significant scope expansion without considering impacts, the project manager's surprise reactions can prompt reconsideration, highlighting feasibility concerns and potential leading to a revised offer. So some pros: signal dissatisfaction on the part. So if you are the project manager, so the customer is asking you for more scope, more work, so you signal dissatisfaction, disrupts dynamics, enhance perceived value. But there's some risks associated with this kind of technique. Risk of damaging trust if reactions seem insincere, requires subtlety and credibility, and potential backfire if perceived negatively. So be careful when you can use this tactic. And the last but not least, and again, draw, color these characters. It's black and white, so I want to see some beautiful colors. Let's see what you come up with in the last workshop. So split the difference. Split the difference. This tactic employed when parties in a negotiation reach an impasse or deadlock. We are blocked, aiming to find a middle ground that partially satisfies both parties' interests. That's what we want, an agreement. It involves proposing a compromise where both parties agree to meet halfway between the initial positions. So again, in our context of project scope negotiation, when the client pushes for additional features, the agreed scope and the project team insists in maintaining the original scope to avoid delays, splitting the difference could involve compromising by including some of the requested features, not all, some of the requested features, while not incorporating all, finding a balanced middle ground. That's what we want in the negotiation. Pros, breaks statements, foster collaboration, maintains relationships, and project momentum. Some cons may lead to incomplete concessions, reinforce compromise mindset over optimal solutions, that can happen too, requires assessment for balanced outcomes. And those are the 3 tactics that you're gonna be exercising today with the pitching and also with the negotiation of the project scope. Overcoming some common challenges in scope negotiations. So I'm not gonna mention everything, so this is a short presentation. So there's a lot of materials out there to learn about it. So overcoming challenges in negotiation, scope creep and change management. So how are you gonna address scope creep? You need to implement a robust change management processes that is crucial to avoid scope creep. Dealing with unrealistic expectations. What am I gonna do? Effective communication and expectation setting are key to managing unrealistic expectations. What is included and what is not included in the project? That is very important from the onset. Since the very beginning of the project, you need to have that very clear. Project managers should engage the stakeholder early and often to align expectations with project realities. And that's what we do in Agile. The customer is part of the entire development process. They are always there. So I expect that in Agile, you will have a lot of negotiation around project scope. Managing a project scope risks and uncertainties. So as any other things, you need to be mindful of managing the risks and be proactive in managing, identifying potential risks while you negotiating scope or establishing the project scope. And that basically everything that I wanna discuss with you today. I apologize that I couldn't be in person today, but hopefully this recording help you to have a better understanding of these tactics and improve your negotiation skills. So again, remember the assignment, color this picture for the last workshop next Saturday. So I want to see how you come up with. This is a negotiation. 2 kids negotiating. How we gonna assemble the cathode on the beach? So my concluding thoughts for today: negotiation is an integral part of our daily lives. We negotiate every day, and we use all those kind of strategies that we have been discussed in the course of this workshop, presenting us with countless opportunities to interact and collaborate with others. It's an opportunity for us to build better relationships, strengthening relationships with personally and professionally. When it comes to project management, negotiation becomes even more crucial. It's not just about reaching agreements, it's about fostering collaboration, ensuring alignment, and achieving the best possible outcomes for all parties involved. With that being said, thank you very much for your attention. Enjoy the workshop today, have fun, and most importantly, never stop learning. Thank you.